So today we are joined by Coach Aaron Sauter, who coached at Wagner from 2014 to 17. He was a varsity assistant coach, freshman head coach. Freshman program really took off under his tutelage. He had a combined record of 51 and 37 at the varsity level while he was there. Prior to coming to Wagner, he was a coach at Myers Middle School. And to me, we'll dive into that, but to me, his biggest strength as a coach and as a person is his ability to build relationships. And well, thanks for having us or coming to or join us today, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure, man. So tell us a little bit about coaching at Myers. What was that like for you?
Very interesting. I kind of got thrown into Myers. I moved over here from Northern Virginia where I was coaching middle school ball and had a lot of success there. I was excited. I was coaching girls and boys over there and had a couple girls make it to the D1 level and I had some boys playing D1 football and stuff. And then I got to Myers and it was a whirlwind. I got to give a shout out to Coach Wes Hinton, who was at Wagner at the time, got me the Myers job. And there was no structure. There was no discipline. It was just in shambles. Obviously the school has since been closed, but I want to highlight, there were some kids that really took off through that. And two of them came through the Wagner program. Obviously, Kevion. I cannot tell you how many times I threw a TARC ticket at him as a sixth grader and told him to get out of the gym. So I think when you start doing the same, it wasn't too much of a change for him. Bruce, I know, came through the program. Just seeing him at EKU right now take off. DeMonte Crooms, got to give him a shout out. He went to Butler, and he is now a wide receiver at University of Kentucky. But those are some of the highlights because a lot of the kids there, chose a different path. So for me, looking now at that team, a lot of those kids are in college making good decisions. And then I have some other ones, they're locked up or unfortunately some of them aren't with us anymore.
Right.
The best thing though was when Myers got absorbed into Wagner. That was awesome because we got brought into the school. We got brought into the culture. I was able to bring Kevion and JJ up to Wagner to play early. And I think for those two boys, having that opportunity to go early changed maybe the direction where they were headed. I really just think getting your hands on Kevion that early as often as you two butted heads, and I think Kevion will admit to it, as hard-headed as he is, it really helped shape where he ended up.
For sure. And it's crazy. You mentioned Kevion and us button heads. And I know Luke always talked about how much he and I were alike, and that's why it happened. But, Kevion had some trouble up at Berea. Not that he did anything wrong, really, but just some miscommunication. And he needed my help. And, he called me. And, who drove him back up there was me. And so he knows who the people who are in his corner, and he doesn't forget that. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
My favorite thing about Coach.
Go, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and the cool thing about Bruce is like that kid went to Butler, came back to Wagner, and played his senior year, and then now he's a great student at EKU.
Yep. And then I know Dorsey was another one that went to Butler, and I think he's somewhere right now playing, I think.
Right.
So just seeing those guys, man, it was awesome. But I'll never forget when I had all those kids as sixth graders, the amount of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches they used to eat. Because that was a new teacher. We had just moved to Louisville. I did not have extra money, but the school wasn't providing food. So I remember like Kevion and Bruce eating like 4 peanut butter jelly sandwiches before every meal, like every game. And my wife just being like, why do we buy 10 loaves of bread a week?
Yeah, so. And people don't understand the things that coaches have to do to help kids be successful. And obviously that kind of ducktails right into your ability to build these relationships with guys. And what is it? Why are you able to do that so well?
I think for me, it's because seeing the kids be successful is the payoff. Like, we know we don't get paid very well, and winning games is great. But when I think back about my time at Wagner, I think about sitting with Jaquez, Davon, Ethan, JJ, all those guys, talking about who would win a fight in a gorilla or a hippopotamus. Like, and just the in-depth arguments they would go. Or would you stay in Josh's little training room with Anaconda for 5 hours for $1 million? Those moments, those kids remember way more than any instruction I gave them. Hey, slide over left on 22 to get a little bit better trap. Sure, that was in-game great, instruction, but now, like, when I talk to any of the guys, it's barely about basketball. It's more about what's going on with them.
Yeah, I think that's important. And it's been incredible how many guys have, and not that I'm surprised, but how many guys have mentioned you in all these interviews I've done with the older guys, and how you impacted them, and quite frankly, how our whole staff did. For me, it's always nice to know or hear things later on that maybe you didn't know about while they were happening. When you're the head coach, you have a little bit of a different role, but you don't realize how much the other guys are really doing. And I probably didn't thank any of you enough for the effort that you put in, but like, I know you guys really made a difference in helping our program grow. So
I think that's the strength in the program. I mean, look at us. We're 4 years removed from coaching as a staff, and you, me, Clay, Richie, Bama still text each other all the time. I think that really is what it's about. I think the kids saw that too, because they knew they could come to one of us and complain, and we would be like, no, chill out. Like, it's not that bad. And
for sure. So your first season, you probably felt like you got thrown into the fire a little bit.
Yep.
I kind of let guys just do their thing. I give you direction as needed, but I try not to be too overbearing. But we jump in and we travel down to Florida and play in Pensacola Catholic's tournament, the Crusader Classic, and first couple rounds we take care of business pretty easily. But then the championship game, we end up winning 90-85, beating Tampa Catholic in a thriller. And quite frankly,
Yep.
it was a heck of a game because they had guys like current NBA player Kevin Knox, and their point guard was Thomas Zagua. Probably mispronouncing his name, but played at Oklahoma State. And I actually looked up, he's listed as 4th in school history in 3-pointers made. So they had a couple dudes on that team for sure.
And I specifically remember you challenging Jeremy Cole to be in that kid's head. And Jeremy just took it upon himself. I mean, that kid could not move on the court without Cole being right next to him. And then I remember Jalen taking it as a challenge with Knox. Like, who is this kid? I don't know who this kid is. And Jalen went right at him. And I don't think Knox had a very good game.
Yeah, it was that was an incredible game. And the fact that we beat, a later NBA guy and guys like Jalen stepped up. And I remember we had some guys actually injured that game. So we weren't at full strength. Right. And Nicholas too, I think.
Yep. Nick had an ankle was super fat.
Right. So but what an experience. Is there anything that you kind of took away from that trip that, in your first year that you're like, man, this is kind of different?
Yeah, booking the big purple bus was a bad idea. I'll never live that down. I do remember before that game, Grimes asked everyone, and this has always stuck with me, if this was your last day to play ball on earth, how hard would you play? And that kind of stuck with me, and I use that up here with coaching, and it didn't have the same effect, but our boys fed into that.
Right.
And they just went. I mean, I think we really turned the corner right there at that part of the game. And I think that helped us when we played St. X in that regional game when we beat them. It was kind of that same mentality of, we know we can do this.
For sure. And you bring that up, and that's one thing that I wanted to mention. But before we get to that,
Yeah.
we've got to talk a little bit about the purple bus. So this thing, Sauter books it, and he found the best deal going.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, we'd probably get in trouble for booking this bus now. I remember looking down on the drive down there and trying to look at the speedometer to see how fast we were going, and it was broken. So,
And we're on a budget.
and then on the way home, it was pouring down rain, and the bus is leaking water in it on the way back to Louisville.
To be fair, I had to drive that whole way with like a 6-month-old screaming in the car. Because remember, I didn't ride with you guys. I had to drive separate.
That's right. Well, I had my wife on that trip with us, and
Sorry, Jamie.
yeah, she and Christian, I was on it too. I think she was
Yep.
like, "You guys are crazy." So let's move forward. Let's talk about that regional tournament game. First win in school history in a region tournament game since 1968. It was an overtime thriller at St. X. We were down 20 at halftime, end up coming back to win 91-89. What were your thoughts about that game?
I mean, I remember just the first half it being tough and us not communicating and things not going exactly the way we wanted. And then you asked Jeremy, one of our leaders, one of our seniors that had just transferred over, like, trust me. You just have to trust me. And I think at that moment, Jeremy, he said, okay. And we came out that second half, and I think that's what really sparked us. And I think that speaks to what Wagner basketball was about, was just trust each other. And I think you saw that really in your 18-19 season, as those guys kind of, had been under you for 4 years. You had leaders like Kevion and JJ that had seen that and realized, okay, we can't do this on our own.
Right.
So I think that was kind of a turning point for the program.
You're probably right. And, one thing that kind of gets left out of the story of that game was you talk about a bus incident. We had no bus come pick us up to take us over there. So we piled everybody in the back of our cars and headed over. And it, again, these are things that people just don't realize that sometimes you have to deal with as a coach.
Yeah. I remember that. I was just sitting there thinking, like, where's our bus?
But what a great experience. And unfortunately, we lost the next round. But really, like you said, kind of turned the corner with that. Then we come back in the 2015-16 season. Your second year, I'm sure you felt like you kind of had your feet under you a little bit more and knew what we were trying to do. We, as a staff, really challenged that group. And for whatever reason, and tell me what you think, but I felt like that group never really meshed as well as they could have. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you had a lot of individual talent. You had a lot of individual agendas that just couldn't get out of the way. I love every single one of those guys individually. I think they all had the best intentions, but they couldn't see the end goal through what they wanted to do for themselves. And I think that's a lesson a lot of us see as we worry about what can I do, what can I do, what can I do, and it kind of gets in the way of what other people can do.
Right. And
so I can do this good, but maybe this person can do it better. Mm-hmm. So maybe I focus on another area that I can improve that the team needs.
Right. And even though I know we struggled throughout the year to really put it all together, I thought when it came down to district play, we lost at Seneca 46-44. I really thought that we were going to beat Trinity that game. And they ended up, we had the ball and missed a shot. They went with 10 seconds to go, maybe less. They come back the other way and bury a pull-up jumper to get the win. It was like it's one of those deals where you're like, man, with building on, we had built on the previous year. We had struggled all year, but like we're finally putting it together, and we just one shot was the difference, and we just couldn't get over the hump there.
Because right before that, didn't either Jalen or Kirby took a charge to help us get the ball too?
Right. You're right.
That
Yeah.
was the selfless play we kept talking about, is give your body up for the team. And I remember him taking that charge. I don't know which one of the two it was, and I'm like, all right, that's it. Here it is. We're going to win this thing.